Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back again to Cosmic Culture, the channel where we talk about all major movies and television shows. It's Chris, and today we're breaking down The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1, Chapter 9, The Marshal. After the initial hype of the first season of Mandalorian, we've waited a year for Mando and the child to make a return again to Disney+. And amongst a lot of separate rumors, casting information, and other updates we have about what to expect in this season, there are a lot of reasons to be excited. And the first episode kicked off high and strong with a lot of very exciting callbacks, Easter eggs, and a very entertaining first episode. It's been out for a couple of days now, so I feel comfortable talking about the episode, but if you haven't seen it yet and you're avoiding all spoilers, this is your official spoiler warning. Click away, come back after you watch the episode, and we can talk about some Easter eggs then. Be sure to subscribe for updates on all major movies and television news if it's something you love as much as we do. Also turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any breaking news. So let's jump into these Easter eggs from Mandalorian Season 2, Chapter 9, The Marshal. The beginning of the episode sees Mando and the child yet again, but now Mando is in search of some Mandalorians, and he is directed to head over to Tatooine, where he's already been, to find a Mandalorian who people have said has been spotted on Tatooine. He was a little confused at first because, as we already saw in the first season, he's been to Tatooine, which also makes his voyage a little easier as he knows some friendly faces and some friends out there who can give him some help. Now, Tatooine, obviously goes without saying, is a huge, over-the-galaxy, across all the films Star Wars reference, the birthplace of Anakin, and a place featured in a lot of the classic Star Wars movies, including where 3CPO and R2-D2 voyage across the desert to go and offer their services to Jabba the Hutt on behalf of Luke Skywalker. Another important thing to notice is when the Mandalorian lands on Tatooine, he reunites with Peli Motto, who is abnormally obsessed with Baby Yoda, much like most of the fan base. But the thing to take away here is Mando's countenance with the droids. The entire first season, for the most part, he talks about how much he can't stand droids and how he doesn't trust them, and he doesn't let them do any work for him whatsoever. And although we don't know why exactly this is, we are starting to see him come to a slightly less negative feeling of droids as he allows them to work on his ship, and Motto even makes a reference when they start to make a mistake about how he just started to trust their kind and how they need to clean up their act. Seems the child is changing Mando's point of view on life in a lot of separate ways, and he's becoming a different person from who he has been through the routinist life he lived prior to his introduction with the child. He then asks about the Mandalorian, and he is directed out to a tiny little mining village that hardly has anybody living there, if anyone at all. It's unknown, but there was rumors of somebody in Mandalorian armor out in that area. So he borrows a speeder and heads out to Mos Pelego. When he finally gets there, he walks into what seems to be mostly an abandoned town to a single bartender inside an empty bar. After a small amount of conversation, enters in the doorway the shadow of a Mandalorian armor when shortly after it is revealed to be Boba Fett's old armor. And this can be confirmed by his classic insignia, which shows on the chest plate here in the scene. Obviously, at first thought, especially with all the rumors and understanding that Boba Fett was meant to make a return, the first thing we think is, oh my gosh, it's Boba Fett. But it is quickly revealed after that it is not in fact Boba Fett, but it is the town's marshal, who goes by the name of Cobb Vanth. He then tells a story of how he became the marshal and how his quiet little mining town was taken over by slavers and that they were forced to work. He eventually went and found the armor after he stole crystals from the slavers and ran into the desert, eventually only to be rescued by Jawas. While he was with the Jawas, he traded them the crystals that he stole in exchange for the Mandalorian armor, so that he could go back and save his town, which is exactly what he does, strolling into the bar like an old western film, shooting half of the bad guys there, and as they all go to leave town, he shoots Boba Fett's classic backpack rocket at them, destroying all of them and saving the day. And now he's found himself the marshal of this small little town, and he's grown quite accustomed to the Mandalorian armor and what it represents for him, his town, and the protection of his people. Clearly outraged, Mando requests that he takes off the armor and gives it back so it can be returned to the people who deserve to wear it, because it is only meant for Mandalorians. And Cobb Vanth says basically, no, I like the armor. Until the Sand Dragon comes. Shortly after their argument, there's a disturbance in the town, and a massive crate dragon rumbles through until it finally stumbles upon a bantha and eats it, and then leaves the town. At this point, Cobb Vanth agrees to give Mando the armor if he helps him kill the dragon, which has been tormenting the town for quite some while, and Vanth fears it will wipe the city off the face of Tatooine. So they go and look for the dragon. Now, this dragon in itself is a bit of an Easter egg. You can see while 3CPO and R2-D2 are walking through the desert towards Jabba Palace in A New Hope. As they're walking, they come across a smaller krayt dragon skeleton, which is featured in the movie and is now making a reappearance on Tatooine as a more lively and dangerous creature. One that the Mandalorian now has to find and dispose of if he wants to leave Tatooine with the Mandalorian armor that is inappropriately being used. So they go about their way, and here comes another Easter egg, as Cobb Vanth's speeder that he uses alongside the Mandalorian in order to go and find the dragon's home resembles one of the side engines for a very familiar pod racer, and he has one single side of this engine that he has now converted into a speeder, and it does look extremely like one of the engines from Anakin Skywalker's pod racer in The Phantom Menace. Just food for thought, it could be any pod racer, but let's just assume for fun it's Anakin's. While they're looking for the House of the Dragon, they come across some Tusken Raiders, which previously we have seen Mando have some pretty good relationships with, and it is revealed that he even speaks Tusken as he continues to converse with them, and Cobb Vanth stands there terrified. Previously in Star Wars, the Tusken Raiders are a monstrous, savage breed of people who kill and cause issues for nothing but the good guys. And in The Mandalorian, it is revealed that they're just like everybody else, except sometimes in a bad mood. And although they are slightly more savage than civilized people, they agree to work with the Mandalorian and Cobb Vanth because they're having also issues with the dragon. And in exchange for help from the townspeople where Cobb Vanth lives, they are going to agree to never harm another person from that village as long as nobody from that village strikes first. Which seems like a pretty good treaty for people who are frequently harassed by Tusken Raiders. So they find the place where the dragon lives after searching for it, and they come up with a plan as to how to kill the dragon. And it's discovered that it isn't going to be very easy, and that the dragon is in fact way bigger than they originally had thought. So they come up with a plan to bury explosives underneath where he comes out, because the only place where the dragon is vulnerable is his underbelly, which is usually underground for the most part. So after planting the explosives, they lure the dragon out, and after a few casualties of both the villagers and the Tusken Raiders, they finally detonate the bomb and explode the dragon, except it doesn't kill the dragon. This brings about an extremely fun and exciting scene where we get to see both Cobb Vanth and the Mandalorian jump off the ground in their Mandalorian jetpack style, which has a very appealing and reminiscent view from the Clone Wars when we see Jango Fett fly around with his jetpack in multiple separate scenes. Also, when Boba Fett flies over to fight Luke Skywalker and Han Solo right before he gets kicked into the Sarlacc pit. But this time, the suit does not end inside the belly of a beast, but they fly around shooting it and trying to figure out how they can defeat this monstrous, murderous dragon that is destroying everybody's happiness. Turns out, the Mando has a plan, and he runs over to a very sad Bantha who is covered in extra explosives, lowers the creature to eat him, and the Mando flies out of the dragon and detonates the explosives. This killing the dragon, they are free to go about their lives with a new peace treaty with the Tusken Raiders, nothing else terrorizing their tiny little village, and the Mandalorian gets to leave with Boba Fett's armor, the Mandalorian armor, and Cobb Vanth agrees to give it up as he had promised. Everybody returns to where they live, and it's a pretty exciting ending. But the most exciting part of the entire episode is when the Mandalorian is driving off on a speeder against the desert. We see the silhouette of a figure who then turns and faces the camera, and it is none other than Boba Fett. And the episode comes to a conclusion. So one thing is for certain, we can confirm the Mandalorian armor that belongs to Boba Fett that was being worn by Cobb Vanth the entirety of the episode did not just get thrown up by the Sarlacc, but Boba Fett indeed has escaped and is alive. Why he doesn't have his armor, we don't quite know. How the Jawas got it, we also don't know. But what we do know is he is aware that the Mandalorian has his armor and he was watching. Hopefully, that means that there will be more introduction of Boba Fett in the future of this Mandalorian season, but if nothing else comes from this, then we know that Boba Fett is alive and well, and we can put all the fan theories to rest. then that's good to see. Hopefully we will get the backstory as to how he escaped and what exactly happened in all of that story, what happened to his armor, how did he get away from it, all of that good stuff. But the mere fact that Boba Fett is alive is good enough to make even the newest Star Wars fan pretty happy. But there are some other fun facts that we want to cover for you guys so that you can enjoy other further details about The Mandalorian, starting with Gor Koresh, who is the one-eyed green guy from the fight in the very beginning of The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1, where he tried to kill Mando and take the child. He is in fact an Abyssinian, and they hunted Mandalorians for their Beskar. Although in this scene they weren't interested in the Beskar, but in the child, which of course has everybody's attention everywhere that he goes, and as Mando had said multiple times, where I go, he goes. We also see the reintroduction of R5-D4, the red astromech droid that Luke's uncle tried to buy in A New Hope. He was seen last season in a cantina serving, so it's nice to see that he found a good home and is now sitting with somebody who is excited to have him as he's excited to be with. In the scene where Cobb Vanth steals the container containing the crystals from the slavers and then runs away, the container itself is actually the original prop that was used in The Emperor Strikes Back, and it even made an appearance in the last season of The Mandalorian. It's good to see that they're recycling the props and that they can give them a bit of history as they re-show up in different scenes across different seasons, episodes, and shows. In the scene where the Mandalorian and Cobb Vanth fly up to fight the dragon, the way the Mandalorian gets Cobb Vanth to fly up is actually seen before in the exact same armor. He actually kicks the jetpack, starting it up and causing Cobb Vanth to fly up with Mandalorian. This is the exact same way that Han Solo kicked the exact same armor and shot Boba Fett into the Sarlacc pit, which is a very fun and extremely necessary Easter egg. In short, Mandalorian Season 2 picked up exactly where the first one led off, both in excitement and in execution. This Mandalorian Season 1, Season 2, all of the Mandalorians we're going to get, I can probably safely say, is a Star Wars that Star Wars has always tried to be. It fits the old Western vibe in space, and it is extremely well done with the lore, the rules of Star Wars, all of it makes sense, and it has a lot of really cool Easter eggs, behind the scene looks, and inclusions of other characters and people from Star Wars' brightest history. Very excited to see how the rest of the season goes, and Friday comes out the second episode of Season 2. So be sure to check that out, and then be sure to circle back again to this channel for another video breakdown and Easter egg highlighting all of the craziest and most fun events of the second episode of The Mandalorian Season 2. For now, let me know what Easter eggs I may have missed or what other references you guys saw, your favorite parts of the show and episode, and what you're looking forward in the future of The Mandalorian. Love to hear what you guys have to say, and love conversing with you guys in the comments down below. As always, thank you to everybody who watched to the very end of the video. If you found it helpful, useful, or entertaining, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any major announcements and news for big movies and television that we will be covering right here on Cosmic Culture.